Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I've been photographing since I was 11 years old. It's been a passion. I'm the luckiest guy in the world because every morning I wake up and I love what I'm doing. I've got 10 books out. I've got 2 more coming. I've photographed in wine country. I've photographed in Europe, Africa, Asia, all over the world.
Tell me what's in your bag.
Okay, what's in my bag every time?
Every time.
Is 2 Alpha 900s.
Okay.
And I really could only use one, but I bring a second one just as a backup, just in case something happens.
Smart.
So far, this camera has been through rain, sandstorms, abused the heck out of the camera. Don't let Sony know about that, but anyway. And
Have you ever needed your backup camera?
Never. Never.
Sony's that reliable.
They're incredible, incredible cameras. Okay. So in the bag is 2 Alpha 900s.
Okay.
I have a 16 to 35 Zeiss f2.8 lens, which is a phenomenal lens. I have the 24 to 70 2.8 lens, which I use more than any other lens, which is, in my opinion, the best lens ever made by any human being. Or
which lens was that again?
24 to 70 f2.8 Zeiss lens. Extraordinary lens. Better than any lens on any planet. No, we're not just talking about Earth. Then it's got a 70, I've got a 70 to 400 millimeter lens. That is another one of my favorite lenses. That's the lens is a small lens, it's a light lens, incredibly sharp. And the beauty of this camera is it's got image stabilization, not on the lens itself, but in the sensor itself. So in other words, with other manufacturers with wide angle lenses, you get no stabilization. Right. Because it's in the lens and they don't make them for wide angle, which makes no sense to me because when I shoot with a wide angle, if I'm going into an area and I want to shoot in a 1/4 of a second, I can do that with this camera. You can't do that with any other camera.
But this image stabilization in the body of the camera will apply to any lens on
Anything that's, any lens that's put on the camera.
Okay, yep. Great.
The other thing that's beautiful about this is when you have the SteadyShot on, it's got 4 bars. And if you have 4 bars, it's like you drink too much coffee or like this. And then you hold it until it gets down to 2 or 1 bar, and then you shoot it. Okay. And if it's down to 1 bar, it shows that you're holding the camera very steady.
So this camera tells you when you're ready to have a perfect shot. Exactly.
Now, obviously, when you're shooting people, you don't use that because you have to work with people's expression, etc. But when you're shooting landscapes, it's a phenomenal feature. Okay. And the shadow detail out of this is brilliant. The sharpness is absolutely astounding out of this camera. I mean, I can go on and on about this camera.
What's the difference between, now that we're talking about the camera itself, this is the A850, again, you shoot with the 900. What is the difference between an A850 and a 900?
The difference between the A850 and the 900 is this does 3 frames per second. Okay. And both of them have a dual BIONZ processor, so it processes it very, very quickly. Okay. Same processors. And the other does, which allows it for a huge file to process it very quickly, you need 2. And the other, the 900, does 5 frames per second and a slightly brighter screen on the 900 and this one. The 900 has the brightest screen of any single N3-plex camera.
What do you need a bright screen for?
What you need this for is when you're taking a picture, if you want to look at the screen to see if you're critically sharp, it's really nice to have a brilliant screen. And this screen is an absolutely brilliant screen.
Okay, so now let me ask you from, let's just say, cameras are for, this is going to sound kind of silly, maybe, you know, cameras are for dummies type of person, like myself. You know, I'm a point-and-shoot user, I've graduated to DSLRs. Could I handle something like this?
Easily.
Why?
Cameras are, it's a very simple camera. I mean, if you wanted to just put this on auto and go like this, it's got everything. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So it's a very, very simple camera to use.
Okay.
And the advantage is you can use this as a point-and-shoot camera. And let's say you're somewhere and you've got a picture and you go, my gosh, that is a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. I want to crop in a little bit, but I really want to make a big print for a gift for somebody. This camera will allow you to do that.
How big?
Oh, I've made 40 by 60 inch prints with this, where the sharpness is incredible.
Really?
Yeah. It's really quite amazing. Matter of fact, we've made much larger prints for a photo show in New York that was outside the Javits Center. I don't even know what the size was, but they're much bigger than 40 by 60.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and so now let's just say someone like myself were to own a camera like this. Would you say that the menu and the sub-menus are fairly simple to use, that the buttons just on the body of the camera alone are they're very explicit and they're appropriate for, you know, finger placement and just make it fairly easy for a person like myself to use, let alone a professional?
Yeah, the camera is beautifully designed. When you put your hand there, it's very comfortable. Yes, please. As soon as you pick it up, your finger is automatically on the shutter.
I see that.
Which is great, and it's very well balanced. You feel how balanced it. It also is extremely light. Now this has got an 85 1.4 or 1.8 lens. I think it's a 1.4. The 85 planar 1.4, which is a brilliant lens, but it's not one of the lighter lenses in the world because it's a very fast lens. So if this had another lens on it, perhaps it would be a little bit lighter as well.
Okay.
But it's not. It's not a real heavy camera.
No, I mean it's solid.
It's very solid.
And it does feel very evenly balanced.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's
I don't feel like
balanced.
it's tilting forward one way or the other. No, and I see there's not a lot of buttons here.
No. Very, 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 very simple. This is a SteadyShot, and the only reason when they have an off for the SteadyShot is if you use it on a tripod.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, you keep this on all the time. Another thing, which I was very, very happy. Now this is being a little bit particular to professionals, but a lot of times I have my camera on a tripod, and I want the mirror locked up. I don't want the mirror bouncing around while I'm taking a long exposure. What Sony did is if you do a, sometimes if you want to take a picture of yourself, you put it on 2-second delay or 6-second delay and then run around.
I like to do that a lot.
Well, anyway, what this does is before the picture is taken, it locks the mirror up. Okay. So you have a sharper image. No other camera manufacturer that I know of does that as well. This has something called Intelligent Preview, and what this is if you don't want to take a shot, you push a button and it puts a preview and puts all the information. You can check white balance, you can adjust white balance, you can adjust exposure with it before you're actually putting anything onto the CF card.
So it sort of spells everything out for you.
Totally spells everything out for you.
But there's a menu on here.
Yes.
That
yes.
It sort of teaches you as you go.
Yeah.
On
it's very,
what to do
very
if
intuitive.
you want to.
Increase exposure.
Right. Exactly.
Change. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It sort of seems like something I've never seen before.
Yep. I think it's the only camera that has that actually.
What is a dynamic range optimizer?
Dynamic range optimizer is, for example, if you're shooting something with a lot of highlights and a lot of shadows.
Would that be after having hair?
It would be exactly. If your hair was done and you had a bright sky behind you, you've got your black hair and a bright sky, that's actually a very good example.
Oh, okay.
With the optimizer, it will compensate for the exposure and come up so you have detail on your hair and the highlights aren't blown out.
Very nice.